Magicians are known to get themselves into dangerous situations and then eventually escaping out with style. These fearless wizards will surely leave you terrified with their astonishing feats. So, be it the Brotherhood trio putting their lives to risk, or the terrifying Guillotine illusion. Hello and welcome back, and today we're gonna figure out the secrets behind the most dangerous magic tricks ever performed. So, let's get started. At number 6, Cut in Half Illusion. Kevin James, one of the most creative minds in magic, performed this shocking illusion on America's Got Talent show. Here's what he did. Dressed as a surgeon, he brings along a chainsaw as his surgical tool, which he's gonna use on his patient. Then, all of a sudden, he cuts his patient in half, splitting apart his upper and lower body. But what do we see? The patient is still alive. The surgeon then places his patient's upper body onto a surgical table, and now the real magic happens. Confirming that there's nothing in between his patient's upper body and the surgical table, he's now going to join both the separated body parts back together. So, keeping both her upper and lower bodies on a wheeled chair, he takes out some sort of a device and taps that device on the joining point just below the patient's stomach. Finally, the patient is joined together as he's seen kicking and dancing. So, how did he do it? Well, here's the secret. Let's divide the trick into two parts, the cutting part and the joining part. For cutting the patient in half, the trick is that the cut in half patient was already an amputated guy from the moment he came onto the stage. So he's the torso double of the person who was dancing at the end. Also, the word torso is used for people who only have a torso and no legs, maybe due to an accident or a medical condition. Now, when the surgical table was wheeled onto the stage, the lower half of the patient you see is actually another one of the doctor's assistants who has bent her upper torso in the surgical table's secret compartment. And as you know it, the torso double is the one who's placed on top of the assistant. And of course, the dancing guy and his torso double look similar. Now the surgeon cuts the body in half. There's no blood whatsoever. That's because the part of the body just above the hips is actually a special mannequin-like dress, created using baggy clothes and a few other items. So, do you see the lower half of the body walking away? Yes, because there's another person in there. And the torso guy is the one who's on that surgical table lifting himself up with his hands, making the surgeon's job easier. Now, coming to the joining part, when it was time to put the two halves back together, notice how the torso double and the lower half are wheeled behind the screen. Also, that lower half is just a leg prop made using baggy clothes or some other stuff. Now, at the back of the screen, a fully functional assistant who's dressed in the same costume as the torso guy is wheeled back in place of him. And this switch happened at exactly this moment, which is evident in the way the two halves are placed, which hides the stuff that's happening behind them. Also, the surgical mask which the patient wears plays a huge role, as it conceals the torso guy's face, which is why his replacement looked identical. Finally, using a magical device, the surgeon joins back the two halves, creating an amazing illusion. At number 5, the Death Trap Escape Act. Hara! Hiroki Hara, the Japanese magician, once performed a thrilling escape act on America's Got Talent which scared everyone around. Here's what he did. After coming on stage, he first did a quick dress change to amaze the viewers. Thereafter, he goes inside a death trap box with knives placed all over it. The assistants lock him inside that box. The rope which held the box in place was then set on fire. The knives then pierce through the box, thus keeping everyone in suspense. But what do we see? Hara is all safe as he suddenly appears in front of the judge's table. So, how did Hara survive the death trap? Well, here's the secret. First of all, the knives that pierced the box were custom-made and weren't real, so it didn't pose any danger to the magician. The trick involved two parts. First, the dress change, and second, the escape trick. For the dress change, Hara actually wore two costumes. The outer costume, which was the red dress, didn't have any buttons and was only placed as a single piece over his shoulder which held it in place. So all Hara did was to remove that costume by pulling it aside after he raises up the curtain, and this reveals the black dress underneath. Now, coming to the escape part, the death trap box had 2 secret compartments built inside. Also, there was another assistant hiding inside the back compartment, and there was enough space at the base of the box where he can position his legs. So now you must have guessed it. When Hara bowed down after getting into the box, at the same time, his assistant put his right hand out. And when Hara was completely inside the box, the assistant put out his left hand. Also, there is a secret door beneath the box which makes way towards the staircase placed below the box. Yes, that staircase is hollow, and Hara got down there. So it was his assistant whose hands were locked. Now Hara is inside that staircase, which the stage assistants then moved aside before setting the box on fire. Also, since it was all dark on stage, the steps were put aside at a place where Hara easily got out and crawled towards the judge's desk. Now, when the other person's hands were freed and he was all safe inside the back compartment, he pulled up a latch inside the box to make the burnt rope fall and the knives to pierce through the box. On close inspection, no one was found inside. But you know it, the other person never left the box and went safely to the back as he covers himself with a black board inside. Finally, Hara reveals himself to stun everyone around with this awesome illusion. At number 4, the Guillotine Magic Illusion. Centuries back, everyone feared the guillotine, which was by far one of the most fearsome methods of executing a person. But nowadays, it has turned into entertainment with the Guillotine Magic Illusion. And many magicians around the world perform this illusion by trying to cheat a fake death. So, let's look at the trick first. The magician asks a volunteer, in this case a girl, who is totally unaware of the trick and secures her hand using a strap to keep her from running away. Now, assuring her that nothing would happen, he locks the volunteer's head and hands into the front wooden stock by lowering her body and positioning it beneath the blade. He also places a bucket beneath her head, large enough to hold a head, in an effort to create anxiety in that girl and everyone present there. And now the mayhem happens. The sharp blade comes plummeting towards her head and separates her head from the body. But what about that girl? Well, she's all good, and it's very important to figure out this trick to eliminate any chances of harming people with this magic. It's a well-planned and smart trick performed by magicians to entertain the audience, and you should never try this anywhere. Now, the upper part of the guillotine employs a real sharp blade, while the lower part has a secret trap door. When the blade comes down, there are tiny stop blocks, and the blade hits those little blocks, which prevents the razor-sharp blades from reaching the girl's neck. In some cases, there can even be a rotating blade system, as you can see here, that keeps the person from actually being beheaded. But where does that girl disappear? Well, as you know it, there's a secret trap door which allows the girl's head and shoulders to drop out of sight as the blade comes down plummeting. And what about her separated head? To make it look convincing to the viewers, the moment when the girl drops her head and shoulders inside the trap door, during that exact moment, a form-fitting body shell of that girl appears, which makes it seem as if her body is still there without a head. And the head you see in that bucket was her fake head, which only appears at the end from somewhere below the bucket. So this whole illusion makes this trick look very scary. At number 3, the Mentalist sword trick. Imagine someone putting their lives in the hands of others. That's exactly what these 3 fearless masked magicians known by the name Brotherhood did on Britain's Got Talent a few months back. In this thrilling act, the group of masked men brings a sword along with them and asks Deck, one of the presenters on the show, to place a sword underneath one of the 4 empty carton boxes numbered 1 through 4 respectively. The magician then calls one of the judges, the crowd favorite Simon, on stage, and now the real stuff happens. The magician then blindfolds Deck so that he can't see what number Simon selects. Thereafter, he tells Simon to pick 3 envelopes at random to decide which numbered box the fearsome trio would jump onto. One by one, Simon reveals the number, and the first 2 selections come out to be 4 and 1, and the magicians jump on each of the boxes and come out unharmed. Finally, in the moment of heart-racing suspense, Simon reveals the envelope, which is box number 3. The third magician jumps onto that box and all is fine, which calms everyone around. So, how did they do it? Well, the first and foremost thing is that you should never try this kind of stuff at home or anywhere else. Now, coming to the secret, the trick consists of 2 key questions. First, how did the magician know which box they had to jump onto? And second, how did he prevent the selection of box number 2, which had the sword placed inside? Coming to the first question, the internet has a word going around that after Deck places the sword and comes on stage, he shows the magician which box not to pick by raising 2 thumbs up to signify box number 2. But then, even if the magician knows it's box number 2, how would Simon know which number is there inside each envelope, as he randomly picked the numbers? So this rules out the thumbs up case. Also, it's not always that everything is staged. Here, neither the judges nor Deck knew anything about this trick. So now, how did he find out it's number 2? Well, the magician is wearing a fully covered mask and underneath them they have earplugs placed in. Now, someone backstage, probably their assistant, tells them what box number Deck chose for the sword, and this is how your mind gets tricked into thinking that it was all magic, when in fact it was a setup. Also, if you look back at the performance, the boxes are numbered on the back as well as the front. That makes it easy for someone secretly watching backstage to see which box has the sword in it. So the magician knew that it's the box number 2, but still, how did he prevent its selection? Well, some would say that the magician had prepared 4 sets of 4 envelopes each, which has only 3 numbers written inside each envelope in the set, and each set of 4 envelopes had a number missing from 1 to 4 in each of the sets. For example, in this case, it was 4311 and there was no number 2. And the magician placed that set into one of the 4 pockets inside his jacket and only picked out the one which had number 2 missing after knowing it. But what if Simon chose 2 of the same numbers in his first 3 attempts? So even this scenario is not possible, and there's got to be another trick behind it. And the trick is that the magician uses a gimmicked card for each of the envelopes Simon picks up, and it was not a free choice by Simon. Also, if you look closely at this frame, you can clearly see a piece of folded paper sticking out halfway down the piece of paper, folded over on the back of number 3. This implies he has 2 sheets of paper and he could choose whatever number he likes. And using a sleight of hand technique, he prevents the selection of number 2 and only shows the number which doesn't have the sword. And now you know it, the magicians jump on each of the empty cartons with nothing inside and come out all safe to end this amazing act. At number 2, the Buried Alive Escape Act. After successfully impressing the judges with his escape acts, Demian Aditya, the Indonesian illusionist, stepped up his game for this dangerous act. Wrapped in a chain locked behind his back and handcuffed, Demian laid down into a wooden box in a 10-foot deep hole, outdoors. A group of assistants then dumped sand into the hole as Demian had only 90 seconds to escape. Around 60 seconds into the act, the camera feed of the box was cut off and his wife started screaming for someone to save him. Finally, when the time ran out, one of the assistants who was dumping sand removed his cap to reveal himself as Demian, thus stunning the judges and audience around. So, how did Demian escape this death-defying situation? Well, the judges clearly had no idea, but we have the secret, and here's how he did it. The first thing to know about this escape trick is that Demian was completely free the entire time. Yes, all the cuffs and chains used in this act were fake, and here's how he released the locks. The handcuffs were not real and they did not require a key to lock and unlock it, and he was free to go in and out of the cuffs without a key. Also, if you see, he didn't ask the judges to check the locks for its authenticity. So the way he escapes out of those handcuffs was just to move his arms in a certain way, and they became unlocked. Once he got out of the cuffs, all he did was to remove those chains from his body using his free hands. But still, how did he get out of the grave? There was no way out, you'd say. Well, the grave contained more than just that deep hole for his escape. The 10-foot hole that we see is actually a part of a tunnel. Yes, as you can see in this illustration, there's a secret tunnel built underground, and it forms a U-shape when connected with the hole. The judges were seated on one side of the tunnel, while there were concrete pipes placed at the other side of the tunnel. So the grave in which Demian was buried alive was actually the entrance of the tunnel instead of just a grave. Even though the audience and the judges were looking towards the hole, they had no idea about the secret entrance point. Now Demian goes inside the box and the assistants place the box cover. He is then covered with sand, and as soon as the camera feed is cut off, he frees himself from the cuffs and chains and slips out of the trap door that's built into the side of the box. So the trap door leads him into the tunnel and he crawls to the other end to escape out safely. Now you'd think, why didn't anyone see the mouth of that tunnel? Well, the entrance of the tunnel was at the base of the hole, and since the hole was 10 feet deep, it wasn't possible for the judges and the audience to peek that deep into the hole. Also, the assistants placed the box cover to conceal the entry point of the tunnel from the judge's view. But what about the exit point of the tunnel? Didn't someone see the tunnel's exit hole? Now, if you see the footage, there are concrete pipes placed on the ground near the tunnel's exit point. The pipes were intentionally placed there to hide the exit point from view. Also, there was enough space near the pipes for Demian to come out easily. Regarding the change of dress, he did so inside the other hole behind those pipes. In the final part, why didn't anyone see him exchange places with one of his assistants? As you can see, during this moment, his wife comes out screaming to distract everyone to not look near the pipes. So this gave Demian and the assistant near the pipes the chance to exchange places away from the camera. Finally, Demian reveals himself to stun everyone around. So finally, the most dangerous trick on our list, the dangerous drill act. In our previous videos, you've seen people perform all sorts of dangerous acts, but this one tops them all. To start off, the magician brings a drill machine on stage and is about to do something very weird, very crazy, supernatural, say what you want. Then he begins to put that drill machine inside his head, but nothing happens to him, not even a scratch, and he's totally fine. So, how did he survive such a crazy act? Well, here's the secret. First and foremost, never, ever try to do this at home or anywhere else. Now, coming to the secret of his survival, the drill bit attached to the machine is blunt and flat-headed. So, no matter how he places it on his body, the drill never penetrates. Now, some of you'd think, even though the drill is flat-headed, at least it should leave a scratch mark when pushed inside with force. Well, the magician here only pretends to push it forcefully. But the fact is that the drill machine is designed to move in a reverse direction, and that's the reason the drill bit is seen turning and twisting the skin but never affects the skin. It's all an illusion. So guys, hope you got the secrets behind the most dangerous magic tricks of all time. Which trick was the most dangerous one? The Mentalist sword trick or the cut in half illusion? And name any other video topics you would like us to create. Let us know in the comments below. Do like and share this video with your friends on social media. For more such amazing things, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And finally, thanks for watching.